Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone here. Welcome on in, everyone. This is another Viper Strike 95 flight simulation stream, and today we're finally back with our DC-3 around the world trip. It has been a little bit since the last DC-3 flight. I believe our last one was not all the way back until August 20th. Almost a whole month. Actually, it's almost been almost a whole month since our last DC-3 flight. So it's good to have everyone here as well. It's been August 27th. It's just been about a couple weeks. It's almost a month. But today is going to be our last day flying through the continental United States. Today we got two more legs to do today. We're here at Bedford Airport at Hampton Field. And we're going to be flying to New York City. We're going to land at Teterboro, but we're going to explore the Big Apple, checking out a few of its landmarks. Then from there, we'll be taking a longer flight from the Big Apple all the way to another historic North American city, Quebec City. I hope everyone's going to be joining today's stream. And we have a great flight plan coming up. Here's our nav map for some for you guys here to show you what I'm talking about. So again, we'll start here at Hampton Field, fly all the way across Massachusetts. Then make our way to the Big Apple. We'll be flying through Manhattan. We'll be checking out the Brooklyn Bridge, the Empire State Building, and of course, we'll also be flying near the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island, and then make our first stop here at Teterboro Airport, one of the busiest GA airports in the country. Then from Teterboro, we'll just be heading north on our way to Quebec City. We'll be flying around Troy Rivers, or Three Rivers, and then make our way to historic Quebec City. So yeah, guys, we got quite a bit of a flight going on here today. So this should be a fun, interesting flying. So let's say hello to everyone in chat. We have Raleigh Mall. Good to see you. You're lurking, no worries. Good to see you, Raleigh Mall. If you guys don't know about Raleigh Mall 9's channel, he is very knowledgeable on all things Australian aviation history. If you'd like to learn more about that, check on his streams and content here on our channel. So here's his link. Good to have you guys here. So we're back in Boston today. This would be our last leg in the continental United States. So here we go. So this is leg 52. August 20th, 2017 is when they did this flight. For their stay in Boston, they used Bedford Airport. A small event in the airport was organized and offered 2 flights to the guest. Paul Baisley returned home again. Gabriel Evanique replaced him for the forthcoming days, as this was Paul's last flight, and thanked him for all his work. With Boston stock completed, they head south towards New York for a big ceremony in downtown Manhattan, and the airport was Teterboro, which was extremely busy. The airport's near the Hudson River, and below New York's approach paths, they mainly through visual stuff and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, this was a very busy airport at Teterboro, but they did a lot of local flights around New York. And then afterwards, they did some sunset flights for shooting around the Statue of Liberty and flyby Manhattan, and it was the last evening of their stay in the United States as well. So this was their final stop in the United States for the whole journey. So let's go ahead and get this DC-3 thing started, guys. Let's go ahead and get this. All right. Go ahead and get this started. I'm going to go ahead. Try to do this properly. 3. There's right engine. And left engine. Pretty easy start. Our heading for this first one is going to be 248 degrees. You guys are more than welcome to join along in the flight. We're on the Southeast Asian server, and if you don't have everyone should have the DC-3, but in case if you don't want to fly it, feel free to take anything that's fast that can at least keep up 160, 170 knots. That should definitely keep up with a DC-3. So feel free to take one. So if you want to do about the server, exclamation point info, but also exclamation point server or plane. Go ahead and have some fun flying, everyone. Yeah, it's gonna be it's great being back in the DC-3 once again. It's been a while since I've been on the DC-3, so it's great to take this plane back. We're gonna take off runway 29 and make our way over to the Big Apple. So this first leg is not too long. It's gonna be around 100. Let's see, 130, around 160 nautical miles. So this one isn't going to be a super long flight. Altitude for this leg of the trip, we're going to keep ourselves pretty low. We're going to keep around 3,000. Yeah, 3,000 feet is. We're going to go 3,000 feet for this one. We're going to keep it within 3,000 feet. Don't really need a high altitude for this leg of the flight. Yep. Rough. Man, it feels so weird to get back into the DC-3 again, but it's such a fun, exciting plane. So, yeah, we're about to leave Boston. We're not far from a lot of the historic landmarks here in Concord, as you can see. Yep. Head. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. We got about 160 nautical miles. So from here to New York should take around 160 plus 160 plus 3.4 is 163.4. 169.9, 170. 173 nautical miles. It'll be 173 nautical miles towards our destination here. So it should take us around an hour to get there. So that is our flight time. So yeah, I hope everyone here is having a good weekend so far. The weekend's turned out really well for you guys. This weekend was pretty nice. I just caught up with the rest of the flights. I also got some admin documents done for the virtual airline. So we're gonna get things pretty much moving. Should take us about an hour to get there. I hope everyone's doing well. My plans for the rest of this day. So for the rest of the day, after this, I got a couple more. The notes from the VA have now been up, so I'm going to be doing the rest of those achievements. That'll be for my plans for the week. So that's what we're going to be doing. But man, look at the scenery here. This is nice. So yeah, guys, I can't believe that we're going to be ending our flights in the United States today. I mean, this is going to be pretty crazy to think about. But this would be the last leg we have here in the United States. After this, the only thing else after today's stream would be Quebec City, then to Happy Valley Goose Bay, which would just be a single leg. Then a single leg from Goose Bay all the way to Greenland, then from Greenland to Iceland, and then Iceland to the UK, then go down across the UK to France, Germany, Austria, back through Slovenia into Italy, and then crossing from Italy back into France, and then into Switzerland. We can just wrap up the journey, man. I mean, in the best case scenario, we can get this journey done at the end of the year, which would be a massive achievement for this as well. So, if you guys are liking the content and want to support the channel, if you guys like the content and haven't followed and enjoying this, why don't you smash that follow button and support the channel? I do streams every single Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday on Twitch. On Wednesdays will be my virtual airline streams. We'll be taking the airliners for flights across the virtual world on flying the airliners. On Fridays will be the general aviation streams, and then on Sundays is our DC-3 around the world streams. So that's what's coming to you guys for the next couple of days. Got some awesome stuff coming up for you guys. Yeah, I got some bit of. I'm gonna try some variety music today, so I got some synthwave stuff. Got some synthwave beats. So we're gonna go ahead and start the slideshow a bit. So let's talk about New York City, the Big Apple is where we're going to be visiting today on today's stream. This will be where our first stop is going to be at, New York City. Well, it is actually the nation's most populous city with a population as of 2020 of 8.8 million people. And despite that, it's actually a pretty small city, around 300.46 square miles, making it the most densely populated major city in the US. And New York City is more than twice as populous as the second largest city in the country, Los Angeles. It's also situated within one of the world's largest natural harbors, and New York comprises of 5 boroughs, each with its own, coexisting with its own county, the 5 boroughs are Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, the Bronx, and Staten Island. New York City, as we all know, New York City is a very global city with a cultural, financial, high-tech, entertainment, glamour, and media center with significant influence on nearly a crap tons of industry. It's also a major headquarters to the United Nations and is a center for international diplomacy. It's known as the world's most important city and the capital of the world. But New York has a pretty interesting heritage as well. New York City actually traces all the way back to Fort Amsterdam. It was actually originally called New Amsterdam by the Dutch. So yeah, this city was originally settled by the Dutch, of all things. However, it came under British control in 1664, and it was renamed New York after King Charles II gave it to his brother, the Duke of York. And it's still remained New York since 1674. It was the capital of the It was actually the original capital of the United States from 1785 to 1790. Was the original capital of the U.S. and it still has been the U.S. largest city since 1790. And it has grown even more with all sorts of immigrants through the late 19th and early 20th centuries. New York is obviously the world's leading financial center thanks to Wall Street, and is home to the 2 world's largest stock exchanges in NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. And New York has the 2nd largest metropolitan economy in the world behind Tokyo. And New York City, if it were to have its own country, it would be the 10th largest economy in the world, would be in the Big Apple. It's home to the highest number of billionaires and millionaires of any city in the world. And it's a major tourist attraction as 66.6 million visitors came to New York in 2019. There's also Broadway for theater districts and industries, skyscrapers, parks, colleges, and universities. New York City is a major global hub and metropolis. There's so many things about New York that are really, really cool to visit. Definitely, my mom wouldn't want to visit there because of how busy it is, but I mean, New York is such a globally important city. Hard to understate. So. So yeah, that's a bit of notes. I'll have more stuff from New York once we get to our next checkpoint. But I'm gonna let. So let's see who's flying along with us. We have Kevin Yao, but he's further ahead to the west. The 737. I'll just leave it like this. But, man, today has been an absolute gorgeous flight time. But yeah, the reason I set the time to sunset is because we want to get to the Big Apple by sunset and all that. Because we want to see the Big Apple at night. Because, man, we want to go visit the city that never sleeps for a reason, guys. That'll be a pretty scenic flight here. Massachusetts. We'll be crossing from Massachusetts. We'll make our way to Connecticut. This is where we actually ended up in Wednesday's stream. We actually landed in Bradley, just right outside the city of Windsor Locks, which is north of Hartford. But yeah, like I said earlier when I flew there, like Connecticut has played a pretty big role in American history, despite being the third smallest state in the Union. A beautiful day here in this part of the world. And mm, so So yeah, we're gonna get there pretty quickly as well. Just about. So we're getting there pretty close to New York City. I hope you guys are doing well for this weekend. If you guys had any really nice plans that you had in the weekend, for me, I just didn't really do much this weekend. Just focused more on, um, I focused more on just doing some flight sim stuff, flying across, much of Asia. I did the Alpatuari achievement, just trying to catch up because what I missed from my vacation. So basically flew from Milan to Singapore, so literally just traveled through to Cyprus, from Milan to Larnaca, Cyprus, then from Larnaca to Muscat, Oman, then to Muscat to Mumbai, Mumbai to Port Blair, and then Port Blair to Singapore. Definitely some very interesting flying for sure, flying to those areas. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful sunset day. So we're gonna get there to New York pretty soon. just trying to relax here. So once we get there, we'll talk more about the Big Apple soon. Once we get. So, but yeah, to our right, is the city of Hartford's to our right. You guys probably know about Hartford, Connecticut. It is the capital city of Connecticut. It's the capital largest city in the state. You can find all sorts of stuff here at Hartford. One of the big ones is the Mark Twain House and Museum. It's where he wrote on Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. You can also find the Harriet Beecher Stowe Center for talking about Harriet Beecher. Of course, if you go to the east in East Hartford, you can find the Pratt & Whitney engine factory, where they produce a lot of the aircraft engines that Pratt & Whitney had made for their history. And of course, there's also sorts of sporting centers, sporting events, and more around the capital. But definitely a neat little city to visit. Got lots of charm here in Hartford. So we're about around 8 miles left from New York City, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the New York City landmarks here on our stream. Let's start with the first one. The Empire State Building is one of the first landmarks we're going to be checking out in the Big Apple. This 102-story Art Deco skyscraper was designed by Shreve, Lamb & Harmon and was built from 1930 to 1931, and it was derived from the nickname of New York, the Empire State. The building has a roof height of over 1,250 feet, and it stands total, including the antenna, at 1,454 feet, or 443 meters tall. And at one point, it was once the world's tallest building until the World Trade Center was topped out in 1970. And then when the September 11 attacks happened, the Empire State Building was then New York City's tallest building, and then it was surpassed once again by the One World Trade Center. As of 2022, it's still the 7th tallest building in New York, the 9th tallest complete skyscraper in the US, and the 54th tallest building in the world. It was built at the west side of 5th Avenue between West 33rd and West 34th Streets. And it was actually developed as the Waldorf Astoria Hotel before they built skyscraper. But its Art Deco architecture, height, and observation decks have made it a very popular New York attraction, as around 4 million tourists visit the building's 86th and 102nd floor observatory. And of course, it's been an international cultural icon and appeared in more than 250 television series and films since the film King Kong was released back in 1933. The building's size has become a global standard to reference the height and length of other structures. And then, in fact, it's such a big symbol, it was even named as one of the 7 wonders of the modern world by the American Society of Civil Engineers, as well as being one of the most popular buildings as a National Register of Historic Places and National Landmark. But the building itself is pretty cool, actually. It has 102 floors, 73 lifts and elevators make this building. It was such a historic building, and it replaced the earlier Chrysler building, which was still another really tall structure itself. But it was pretty cool, though. They built the Empire State Building with all that. But yeah, they got office space, commercial space, and all that. Pretty cool stuff. Apparently, outside of observatories, the first through 85th floors actually contain 2.158 million square feet. So lots of business space for businesses and other stuff to make it a big part. And there's quite a few tenants around this Empire State Building too. Several airlines have made their offices there, mainly Air China and Turkish Airlines, Qatar Airways, Air China, all make their home here, but also other tenants like Expedia Group, Global Brands Group, LinkedIn, and Boy Scouts have all had our tenants around the company. And then there's also other former tenants, including the National Film Board of Canada and the King's College. And apparently someone also crashed a plane into the Empire State Building too back in 1945. A B-25 Mitchell crashed there. Thankfully, it didn't take down the building, thankfully. Yeah. The next New York City landmark we'll be checking out, we'll probably get to see, is the Statue of Liberty that was actually built. This giant neoclassical sculpture is right on Liberty Island in New York Harbor. Believe it or not, a lot of people didn't know this, but this copper statue was actually a gift from the people of France, and it was designed by French sculptor Frederic Auguste Bartholdi, and its metal framework was built by Gustave Eiffel, who was actually also the namesake of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. It was dedicated on October 20th, 1886, after celebrating the American Centennial for the Declaration of Independence. And it features the figure of Libertas, the Roman goddess of liberty. In fact, the development of this has been around since 1865, but after issues with the Franco-Prussian War in progress, they finally got the statue built, and it attracted a lot of contributors and all that sort of stuff, as they gave $1 to build the statue, and has since been one of the most famous landmarks in the country. It was administered as part of the National Park Service since 1933, and is a major tourist attraction, as limited number of visitors can actually access the pedestal and the interior from within, though the people haven't been access to the torch since 1960. The statue itself is pretty cool. It was actually originally made of copper. The statue itself can actually reach a height from the height of the statue to the torch is around 151 feet, but from ground level it actually gets up to 305 feet. And it definitely is pretty cool as well. And it's been featured worldwide in so many depictions as both replicas and in tons of movies, music, TV series. It's just been everywhere. Now, here's the funny thing about copper as well. When the Statue of Liberty was originally built, it was not green when it was built. The thing that gives copper that green color, it's actually because, well, when copper is exposed to air and all that, it actually changes its color. So, for example, when copper turns green, It's sort of the chemical reaction. It's because it turns green over time because you see copper actually reacts to oxygen in the air, and eventually in a chemical reaction known as oxidation, and it turns copper green. So that's why the Statue of Liberty looks like it's green, because it's reacted with the oxygen in the air. Pretty cool stuff. It's a chemistry sort of thing. So yeah, pretty cool. But it's a very popular icon. Then we have beautiful Central Park here. Next is Central Park here in New York. This urban park is between Upper West Side and Upper East Side neighborhoods in Manhattan. And it's the 5th largest park in the city, comprising of over 843 acres. It is the most visited urban park in the U.S. with an estimated 42 million visitors annually as of 2016. But the idea of this park goes all the way back to the 1840s, but it wasn't until the 1850s to 1870s when the park finally came to become a reality. And then they started cleaning up the park in the 1930s, and it's still refurbished even to the present day. But it's home to many attractions, including the Ramble and Lake, the Hallett Nature Sanctuary, the Sheep Meadow, the Woolman Rink, and of course the Central Park Zoo, as well as home to many concerts and events, sport facilities, bicycling, and carriage horse tours and all that as well. And as a result, it became a model for many of the urban parks around the world. And as a result, it became a National Historic Landmark in 1963 and more. It's been such an important landmark, and it's definitely a very cool national urban park to visit. So definitely very, very cool. It's home to all sorts of pretty cool animals. Apparently, there's over 20,000 trees in the city. And it's home to all sorts of different species, including 303 different bird species, 10 species of mammals, 223 invertebrate species. Also home to turtles, fish, and frogs as well live in the park. That's pretty cool, though. So, cool national park. Oh, and by the way, guys, I think to our left, we just passed over what appears to be New Haven, Connecticut, actually. Connecticut's 2nd largest city is actually down here. New Haven is most famous for being where Yale University hails from, is Yale. But also New Haven is well known for more than a few other things too. Besides just being for Yale, New Haven is also pretty important for other areas too. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Hey, Dougal McTavish, good to see you, Dougal. We're about to make our way to our first leg in New York City. So we're not too far from the Big Apple, Murph. So, not Big Murph, Dougal. We're not far from the Big Apple. So, but yeah, we're going through the coast of Connecticut. We should also be near Bridgeport. Which, if you guys aren't aware about Bridgeport, Bridgeport was actually where Sikorsky made a lot of his planes. He made a lot of his helicopters back in the day, Bridgeport. But Bridgeport is actually a pretty important city. I pulled that up. So, Showman P. Barnum was actually a resident, and he even served as the mayor. And this is where he housed a lot of his circuses during the wintertime. But Bridgeport became a major city for inventions, including the first mutual telephone exchange in 1877, the first dental hygiene school, and first bank telephone bill in the United States. Harvey Hubble II actually invented the electric plug outlet here in the city, as well as the Frisbee Bike Company, and world's first Subway restaurant as well. Were all found here in the city, funnily enough. The little city of Bridgeport as well. Like, Connecticut's got some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, you're looking for dinner. No worries, Dougal, with the dinner. I know you guys got a pretty big stream coming up today, maybe. So I guess you guys have a pretty cool stream as well. So here's a shout to the Shout Display team. They probably got their stream later today, a little bit later on. Here's a shout to their channel here on Twitch. Yeah, like I said, there are so many really cool smaller cities around the Northeast United States. Oh. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Let's go back to our slideshow. After Central Park, we'll be taking a look at the Brooklyn Bridge as a bridge. But this bridge is actually pretty old. It's been around since 1883. This hybrid cable stayed suspension bridge was actually the first fixed cross around the East River. And at the time of its opening, it was the world's longest suspension bridge, spanning around 1,595 feet, and a deck that's around 38 meters above high water, which is around 127 feet. Plans for a bridge connecting Manhattan and Brooklyn have been around since the 19th century, but it wasn't until the current construction designed by John A. Roebling, who we all know was actually from Cincinnati. John A. Roebling came around from Prussia, but he later worked in New York City, and he also designed another iconic bridge in Cincinnati as well. But he was tasked to work on the Brooklyn Bridge, along with his son Washington Roebling, and later by his wife as well. And they started construction in 1870, though after many controversies, it took 13 years to build it, but they finally got the bridge built, and has been through several reconfigurations, from horse-drawn carriages to automobiles and all that, and has been renovated several times, most recently in the 2010s. But the bridge is a very historic landmark. Yeah, it's hard to believe that the Brooklyn Bridge is just such an icon. As well, and it's been featured in. There's been multiple different events held here, including many stunts were performed here. There are many people that jumped from the Brooklyn Bridge, including Robert Emmett Odom, but he passed away through injuries. But of course, other people have done bridges. Giorgio Pesci actually flew a plane, the Caproni CA-5, under the bridge. There's also been many arrests and anniversary celebrations too, and as a result, Brooklyn Bridge played a big part of American culture. It has been featured in so many media sources and movies, television shows, music videos, and so much more. The Brooklyn Bridge has been basically everywhere. And then we have Times Square, the historic Times Square here in New York. Another important landmark is Times Square. Times Square is the major commercial intersection, tourist attraction, entertainment hub here in Midtown Manhattan. It was formed at the junction of Broadway, 7th Avenue, and 42nd Street, and is brightly lit by numerous digital billboards and advertisements offering 24/7 services, and is among the world's busiest pedestrian areas. And it's a hub for the Broadway Theater District, a major center of the world's entertainment industry, and it's among the world's most visited attractions, attracting 50 million visitors daily. And as a result, it is an extremely busy place to visit, but it's got all sorts of stuff. Now, Times Square really grew during the early period. It's been around, but it didn't really grow into prominence until the 1920s and 30s, especially the 1920s and 30s. But it's ever since, but it's been through quite a lot of changes. But can't go wrong with going to Times Square. And finally, there are a couple of more interesting landmarks in New York City that they're definitely worth checking out. We obviously have the Rockefeller Center, which is the outdoor skiing rink at base of the tower, is one of the most popular winter activities in the city, especially for families and couples. There's the 9/11 Memorial Museum as a moving tribute to the 3,000 people that were killed during September 11th, 2001, as well as the 6 people that were killed in the earlier bombing in 1993. You have the premier shopping area in New York, the Fifth Avenue. And finally, the New York Public Library, which is an absolutely massive library. Its main reading room is actually 2 blocks big, and it holds 10,000 magazines. And the collection is pretty vast, if you know it. It's the collection of that library is beyond massive. It's actually the fourth largest. It's the fourth largest library in the world, and it's the second largest in the United States. There's about 3,100 employees, and its collection is 55 million stuff in its collection. Yes, its collection is around 55 million big, which is, I mean, that's massive thing. That's a massive library. I mean, the only library is bigger than the one in New York is the British Library in London, which is around 170 to 200 million collections. The Library in Congress in DC, and the Shanghai Library. There we go. Turn on the lane lights. But yeah, we're about to reach the Big Apple, guys. I mean, this is going to be nice. I've never really done anything with New York City nights. This should be an absolutely awesome stream. Yeah, we're going to do some seeing flying around the Big Apple. So this is going to be a bunch of fun. So afterwards, for the next leg, we're going to be around 6,700, 8,000 feet. We're going to be around. We'll be flying through that one. So yeah, I hope you guys are liking this stream so far in the chat. I hope you guys are enjoying today's stream. I know it's a Sunday morning. But yeah, we got some great stuff going up as well. Also, speaking about Bridgeport, the reason the airport is actually it's actually named the Igor Sikorsky, and um, that's because nearby Stratford was the home of Sikorsky aircraft, and they were among the first people to do helicopters and stuff. Including planes such as the UH-60 Blackhawk and the Sikorsky S-72. But it became a major helicopter production as well. And the Sikorsky R4 too. It's pretty cool. But yeah, guys, we finally make it to the Big Apple, everyone. But New York's got home to quite a few major airports in the Big Apple. The one up ahead of us, if you see all those name tags, that's LaGuardia. That is the main domestic airport in New York. This is a domestic flight-only airport in the Big Apple. And that's remained mainly with domestic flights now. It's not an international airport. It's one of the main domestic ones. Then further south across Long Island is Kennedy International. That's the main international airport in the Big Apple. JFK is massive. And then to the west of it, across Liberty Bay, across the Upper Bay into New Jersey, is actually Newark, and that's the third major airport in the Big Apple. And finally, to prepare for our final stop, the last slide for this leg is Teterboro Airport, Kilo Tango Echo Bravo. It is one of the busiest GA airports in the world. However, the issue why it's not a commercial airport is because it actually has a 100,000-pound weight limit. But it's very popular for both private GA and corporate aircraft. It's 827 acres big. It actually has two runways, 0119 at 7,000 feet and 0624 at 6,000 feet. But it's one of the busiest GA airports in the country. And believe it or not, this is also the oldest airport in the New York City area, having been around since 1917 for World War I as a manufacturing plant for the U.S. But it's still been a very busy GA airport, and there have been several notable incidents and all that. And it's been featured in many pop culture stuff, including when Arthur Godfrey buzzed the control tower in his DC-3. He was a very known television guy. Bob Gruen photographed Zeppelin in front of their private 720 passenger jet, the Starship. It was also featured in 2 episodes of The Sopranos, as well as in the 2022 film Uncharted. But yeah, it's a very busy and very important airport here in the New York City. If you guys weren't aware about the documents I made, so a lot of the documents I did for the VA Airlines, I actually did not put New York as any of the hubs for the Eastern United States, because like I said, New York is it's just too obvious of a choice for a hub. I mean, it's a major city, and New York's such an iconic place, but I mean, they're just... So to our right is the Bronx, and we could see Yankee Stadium from up here is Yankee Stadium. We could see the Yankees home ballpark from up here. New York, the Yankees are one of the 2 baseball teams here in the Big Apple. The other one being the New York Mets, located in Queens. And speaking about the baseball team in Queens, there is Citi Field. To our left is Citi Field. Look at the size of these skyscrapers. That's a problem. Look at the size of this. We're gonna go down and descend a bit. So to our right, we can see Central Park. Central Park's to our right. And there's the Empire State Building. Oh, that's an amazing shot right there. That's a perfect shot. There's tons of landmarks in the city. There's Roosevelt. There's also, to our left is Roosevelt Island. Down below is Roosevelt Island. And just look at the skyscrapers, dude. There's the Empire State Building. I think the Chrysler is not far from here. Is Chrysler? That's not far. And there's the One World Trade Center to our central area. Is the One World Trade Center. And of course, there is the Brooklyn Bridge, everyone. There's the Brooklyn Bridge. Is the legendary Brooklyn Bridge. That's to our left. Actually, that's the wing. The Brooklyn Bridge is actually. There's the Brooklyn. There's the Brooklyn Bridge. Oh, that's a beautiful picture. Oh, that's a great pic. Actually, this one's better. There's Ellis Island down below us. Is the Governor's Island. Governor's Island's down below. And of course, there is the Statue of Liberty. How about that for landmarks, everyone? That is such a... And there is finally... There's finally Ellis Island down below. Alright, guys. Let's go ahead and do some land predictions, guys. So, exclamation point predict, type in a negative number, and see what kind of land predictions I'm going to get here, guys. But man, that was an awesome tour. I got tons of pictures for the Discord too. You guys are gonna love it. Exclamation point Discord. For today's thing, here's the Discord for today. There's Teterboro. We're going to land straight in, and we're going to go ahead and park and prepare for the next leg. Oh my goodness, we have a huge ray from Two-Tone Murphy. Hello, Fireflies. What's up, my dudes? Good to see ya. We're about to land in Teterboro. We're doing legs 52 and 53 today of our DC-3 Around the World Tour. We're about to land here at Teterboro. We just flew over New York City earlier on. We took off from Boston earlier on our DC-3 Around the World recreation. We passed through the Big Apple, which was absolutely stunning. We got to visit the landmarks. But great to see you guys here. Super Typhon, great to have you here. Typhon, I hope you're doing well. Murph, I know you flew the 737 Classic on X-Plane. I did see that, and that was pretty cool, though. Like, I'm waiting for when the 737 Classic ends up in MSFS, because I'm pretty interested in see how that compares to the 737 for PMDG we got. I'm kind of curious, because there are technically two different generations of 737s. The one we have in the sim is the new generation. Oh yeah, and one more thing, guys, I just realized it. If you guys look to your left, you see a giant football stadium to your left. This stadium is MetLife Stadium, home to both of New York's professional American football teams, the New York Giants and New York Jets. So, there's big old MetLife. This is where the Jets and Giants play football at. If I was doing an American football series, I would be talking about the Jets and Giants. But not today's stream. What's lurking while you started? Hurricane Lee did minor damage. Just popped a breaker from near on by. Ah, gotcha. I just hope it wasn't too bad, though. I know Hurricane Lee's came up. But I hope nothing else was bad, Typhon. Prayers for you and your family. Hope you guys make it okay. Because, like I said, today is hurricane season, so... So we're gonna go land 01. If you guys want to join alongside us today, we're on Southeast Asian server. We're gonna be doing flights in the DC-3. If you guys have a DC-3, that'd be great. If you guys don't want to fly, that's fine. You can take any plane that can get to 165 to 170 knots. You should get down there pretty easily in any plane you want. But yeah, this is going to be the last stop here in the United States for this entire journey. So we're going to go ahead and park here in Teterboro. Beautiful landing. Look at that. Negative 46. That's very smooth. And here, just found a place we could park. So, yeah, it's hard to believe this is going to be the last place in the United States we're going to stop. We'll be taking a quick break if you guys want to join along with me for the journey. We still got one more leg left to go into Quebec. So, I'm just gonna take a quick parking stop. Yeah, Teterboro is such a great general aviation airport. Such a great one. Right next to New York City, you're basically got two pretty nice big runways for flights. Uh, yeah, great to have you guys here. I'm going to go ahead and briefly stop. I'm just going to park here temporarily. That's the first stop of our journey is Teterboro, and I think I also got a nice shot right here. So yep, that is going to complete leg 52 of our journey. We'll get ready to do leg 33, 53 points short. So if you guys want to join along, we're right here. So here's our info. We're on Teterboro in the DC-3 Classic. We're on Southeast Asian server. So if you guys want to join along, and here's some recommended. I also do have a Discord for you guys as well. If anyone wants to join my Discord, I do schedules for my stream. I do stuff for my stream. So here's my Discord for you guys. I got my updates for my streams. I stream 3 times a week, as well as streaming for airlines, GA, and historical stuff. So that's mainly going to be the content of my streams. So let's go ahead and I'm going to reset the date because we got our notes. So we're going to go ahead and set this to August 23rd, 2017. I'm going to schedule it right around the date time and 4 o'clock a day. Okay, guys, so late 53, we're going to be heading to Quebec City. But we're also going to be heading to, and then we also has next week's destination of Goose Bay. So the next event for Breitling was actually planned in the United Kingdom on the other side of the Atlantic. So in order to do, they had to get it ready to cross the Atlantic. So they had to go from Teterboro to Quebec City. And they also had passengers from the Super Constellation Flyers Association. And originally stayed in Quebec for the night, but the weather forecast suggests that we continue as bad weather. And they went to Goose Bay then they went to Goose Bay. So definitely very interesting to fly there around Goose Bay. But we got nice weather, so we're going to go ahead and make our way to Quebec. Don't need the pedestal light. Or we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and refuel the plane. And we're gonna be at pretty high altitudes. We're gonna be around 8,000, 7,000 to 9,000 feet. We're gonna go auto lean. And got an amazing day here. So pretty crazy stuff considering yesterday Allison Johnson flew to Guam. She flew all the way from Guam to Wake Island yesterday. This one's going to be far shorter. Our ETA for this leg, 390 minus 175 minus 1. It should be just about 2.5 hour ETA 2.5 hour flights from New York to from Teterboro to Quebec. The heading for this leg is going to be 25-degree heading. So heading 25 degrees. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to head on out, guys, and we're going to be getting right in the air of the DC-3, and we're going to start our flight. We're going to go ahead and get out. This. And our climb is going to be around 8,000 feet, so we're going to be pretty high up in the air. So this one's going to be around 390 nautical miles long, so this one will be about a 2-hour flight in the DC-3. Let's see who's flying along here today. Got quite a few people from the New York airports. We also have Tarnish, Mossman, and the Typhoon. I see you, Tarnish. Good to see you. I don't have the Typhoon, unfortunately, but good to see you, my dude. Yeah, we're climbing way up. So I also prepared the slideshows as well, because we will be talking about So I got my slides for today as well. Earlier on, I finished the rest of one part of slides, covered from Boston to New York. We talked about the Big Apple, New York City, and some of its historic landmarks. And then now we're going to be heading up our way to Quebec. So that's what we're going to be doing soon. We're just going to try and get up to pretty good. We are going to climb. So, I thank you guys so much for the raid. Thanks, Murph, again for the raid, as always. If you guys want to check, I guess you all don't know this, but Two-Time Murphy is an absolute legend. If it wasn't for his community, I wouldn't be here today, giving you guys the stream. But amazing dude, amazing content. Love everything he's been doing. Definitely one of the top guys in the flight simulation community, without question. Yeah, can't wait for next week's streams, Murph. You got a trip to the Orinoco River in South America, one of the biggest rivers in South America. Then Wednesday's going to be more news. Apparently, the Got Friends F4 Wildcat, that's definitely going to be a really awesome plane. The guys at Got Friends have been on an absolute roll with the planes they've made. I mean, they made the Vilga, amazing bush plane. Double ender, amazing. And then the F4 might be the icing on top of the cake. They've made so many of them. And then your Friday stream is going to be Banff Getaway to Banff in Alberta. That's going to be an absolutely beautiful trip. I've been through Banff and all that on stream one point. Very, very beautiful area to visit. just incredibly awesome and beautiful to visit. But yeah, First made some great stuff. So, to your right, guys, we will see the Hudson River, the beautiful Hudson River. It's a really beautiful river in this part of the United States, the Hudson. But I mean, there's some great places to visit alongside the Hudson River, including Stony Point, where you can find the Stony Point battlefield. Fort Montgomery. There is also West Point, which is where the U.S. Army cadets of the U.S. Army train at West Point. There's also Newburgh, which you can find Washington's headquarters, where George Washington had his headquarters. And it goes all the way up through the river, including, you can check out the Vanderbilt Mansion, the Hudson River Maritime Museum, and more. But there's so many communities that were built on the Hudson. And also in the Hudson, where you can find the state capital of New York in Albany. Yes, Albany is the capital of New York State. Oh yes, I've been wanting to go back to Quebec. I really wanted to go back. I really want to go to Quebec there, Tarnish. Quebec is actually where my father's family came from, was all the way in Quebec. And that included Quebec City. His family my dad's family was descended from the people that lived up there in the city. So I have some real roots of Quebec, Tarnish, and I really want to visit Quebec. That is the one place I really want to check out, is Quebec City. I heard that it's an absolutely beautiful area to visit. I really want to check out the Old Town, particularly the Old Town Quebec. I mean, they got all sorts of stuff. They got the Citadel. There's Place Royale, where the Old Town. And there's even a very well-known photograph hotel from there, too. Everyone takes pictures of this hotel up there, too. Yeah, Quebec City is an absolutely charming place. I really want to visit. Yeah, that is the #1 place in Canada I really want to visit Quebec. I know I'm technically going to Canada next year, eastern part of Canada next year, to Halifax, Sydney, and Prince Edward Island, but Quebec is the top of my list of places in Canada I really want to go. Beautiful place. But man, this is just pretty up there. The Hudson. Hudson's a great place to check out the United States. Beautiful Hudson River. Beautiful place. So, definitely a great place to visit. If you guys don't know about me, I am BikeRestriking95. I've been doing flight simulation streaming since 2021. I've been on The Sims since when it first came out back in 2020. I currently stream 3 times a week on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. On Wednesdays, I do my airliner stream to the Virtual Airlines. Firefly Air is my virtual airline operations for Firefly Air. So I've been mainly doing stuff for the VA. On Fridays, is going to be the general aviation group flights. I do, last Friday I just did a flight to the Benelux. That was a bunch of fun. And then Sundays is my historical recreation stream, the DC-3 Around the World stream. That is what I've did. That's what I'm currently doing right now. I've done plenty of historical flights in the past. My biggest plan would be an around the world trip, but with Firefly Air, I'm hoping within the next year or so we get hubs for the rest of the other areas like Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and another North American hub. And my goal would be, for this one, would be to have a Firefly Air hub that connects to all the hubs for Firefly Air. So that way, we could do some stuff. That's probably my ultimate plan for an around the world trip. So. That's kind of my plans. Big stuff coming up. That's what I'm one plan. If you guys are liking the content, what better way to what better way to support me in the content by smashing that follow button? I'm currently working towards 800 followers. Currently working up to those by the end of the year. I would like to get more than that, but 800 is my next goal. I mean, who knew the Hudson is just beautiful? There's Bear Mountain State Park to our left. And of course, you guys probably know what I'm looking at right now. West Point. Is West Point. That is where the United States Army cadets have actually been trained here in West Point. It's the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. But West Point has actually been around for quite a long while, actually, since 1802 is where it was actually founded. It was actually originally established as a fort overlooking the Hudson River. It is the oldest of the 5 American service academies, and it mainly does for the United States Army. Pretty cool stuff. The cadets have, there's around 1,000 cadets graduating each year, with about 1,300 entering each July. It also has its own athletics academies and NCAA sports teams, including the U.S. Army Black Knights football program. And there's been quite a few people, alumni from there, that are very notable, including U.S. Presidents Dwight D. Eisenhower and U.S. Ulysses S. Grant, as well as Edgar Allan Poe, who was a famous American poet, U.S. Generals Douglas MacArthur and George Patton, and 76 Medal of Honor recipients have graduated from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Yeah, there is West Point. This is where the U.S. Army played. Oh, there it is. Man, this area is just beautiful. Also, if you guys aren't aware, I am also the resident researcher of the Two-Tone River community, so I've been doing a lot of the research work with him with the virtual airlines and stuff, and been working on all that. And yeah, I know a lot of Americans don't know about this, but back in the old days before modern schools rose, the U.S. Army used to be a college football powerhouse in collegiate football, the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army, the Army Black Knights is part of the FBS. They play at Michie Stadium in West Point, which is 38,000 people. And the U.S. Army used to be a college football powerhouse. They used to win 3 national championships in 1944, 45, and 46. Those were also during the World War II era. They also produced 24 players and 4 coaches in the College Football Hall of Fame, 37 constituents All-Americans, and 3 Heisman Trophy winners for the Army. Yeah, imagine when Army used to be a powerhouse program, where Army and Navy used to be successful football programs. Pretty cool stuff, but Army has not been the same since all of it. One of the cool things about Army, and Army's 3 Heisman Award winners are Doc Blanchard, who became the first junior in service to win the Heisman Trophy and Maxwell Award back in the old days. He ended up being a U.S. fighter pilot in the Air Force and served from 1947 to 1971 with the rank of colonel. He was a colonel in the U.S. Air Force. But he was a very successful player and had a decorated military career as well. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that they definitely have a very serviceable. Yeah, very, very cool stuff. And as well, a lot of people also know that the Army is also very famous for its rivalry with Navy. It was the Army-Navy game, and I bet you guys are probably aware of it. I mean, it was one of the most famous college football rivalries. Been around since 1890. And they played 123 times. And it's usually the last game of the college football season. Playing for the they usually play for the Secretary's Trophy and as part of the Commander-in-Chiefs with the other service academy of the Air Force. In fact, Senate presidents have often attended games there too. And the winner of the series has been Navy. They've been leading the series 62-54 with 7 ties. Definitely pretty cool. Yeah, very, very important rivalry game. Pretty important stuff. We have Tarnish with us. Here playing along with us is Tarnish42. He's with us. Good to see you, Tarnish. But yeah, this is a beautiful part of New York. Beautiful area here. We got all that going up. So I want to ask you guys, whoever rated, if you guys are lurking, that's fine. I hope you guys had a great weekend so far. I hope you all had a good weekend and things turned out pretty well for you. This past week, I've been doing lots of virtual airline flying. I had to catch up for my trip to Bermuda, so I've been trying to catch up on the achievements and monthly schedule. So that's what I've been doing. Afterwards, I think I'm going to be finishing some of the new achievements. There's a new river run achievement to the new hub in Kern Valley. There's also one for the F1 flight to then there's one to Japan to our hub here in Nagoya. And then finally, there's also one final one, which was about landing practice stuff. So definitely some stuff I'm going to be doing over this past week. That's what I'm going to be doing for that. I'm going to get those done within the next couple days. Hey, I'm just trying to do what I can with the virtual airline. Pretty cool. So, I'm going to go ahead and start talking a little bit about Quebec here. This is where we're going to be ending up to this past week to our destination. We're going to be in Quebec, actually. Quebec is actually the largest province in all of Canada by land area and second largest population after Ontario, as one of the 13 provinces in Canada, and much of Quebec lives among the urban areas along the St. Lawrence River between its most populous city of Montreal and the capital of the province, Quebec City. It's home to the Quebecois Nation as well, and it shares land borders with Ontario to the west, Newfoundland and Labrador to the northeast, New Brunswick to the southeast, and a coastal border with Nunavut. And it borders the U.S. to the south as well. Between 1534 and 1763, it was actually called Canada, and it was the most developed colony in New France, which was a pretty big colony on down there for New France. It went all the way from Quebec to the north, and it went all the way south to modern-day Louisiana, as far west as modern provinces like Manitoba. It was a pretty huge colony for France. But then after the 7 Years' War, it became a British colony as the province of Quebec, then Lower Canada, and then Canada East, and it became part of Canada with the Confederation in 1867. Quebec itself functions within the context of the Westminster system under a liberal democracy and constitutional monarchy. The premier acts as the head of government within the province. Has played a large role in Quebec politics. And Quebec society cohesion and specificity is within 3 statutory documents, including the Quebec Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms, the Charter of the French Language, and the Civil Code of Quebec. And unlike other areas of Canada, it has a mixed law canon with private law exercised under civil law system, while public law is common. Obviously, the official language of the province is also different from the rest of Canada. It's actually not just French, but its unique regional variety of Quebecois French. And it's the only francophone majority province in Canada. It has many industries like aeronautics, hydroelectricity, pharmaceuticals, wood, and paper, as well as, of course, maple syrup, its comedy, and its role in increasing the popularity of ice hockey. But yeah, Quebec is a pretty important province, all things considered. But Quebec's history is quite unique one. So Quebec's history is pretty unique. When at the time European explorations arrived in the 1500s, there were 11 different indigenous peoples, the Inuit, and then the 10 members of the First Nation, including the Abenakis, Algonquins, Cree, Huron-Wyandots, Iroquois, Innu, and Nagasipis that call the area home. At the time, the Algonquians organized seven political entities and lived nomadic lives, while the Inuit fished and hunted whales and seals along the northern bays. However, things changed in the 15th century, however, when the Byzantine Empire fell and the Ottomans blocked the trade routes. They prompted a lot of Western Europeans to search for new routes across the Far East. And eventually, with Giovanni Carranza, he pursued the King of France to commission a western route to China through the Northwest Passage, and although it was unsuccessful, he established the new colony as New France. And Jacques Cartier became the first European explorer to discover and map modern-day Quebec in 1554. And eventually it helped build the modern-day city of Quebec City. Although these expeditions, France only abandoned North America for 50 years due to financial issues with the wars with the Italian Wars and the religious wars between Catholics. However, with the rise of fur trade, particularly beaver pelts, it reunited French interest in New France. And New France then became a major trading post for the French, for the fur trade. Then in 1663, the company New France ceded Canada to King Louis XIV and officially made New France a royal province of France, and it grew to extend from the Hudson Bay all the way to the Gulf of Mexico and encompassed all the Great Lakes. So yeah, New France was a massive colony. I mean, all the way from northern Quebec, from Hudson Bay all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, which is a massive area. And then from 1688 onwards, the fierce competition between the British and French to control North America's interior prevented New France and his indigenous allies against the English in a series of successful wars known as the French and Indian War by many Americans. Ultimately, at the very end of the war, after the 7 Years' War, it was the British who won, and all of New France was conceded to Great Britain. And as a result, the French Canadians were subordinated to the government of the British Empire and circumscribed to the region of St. Lawrence Valley and Anticosti Island, called the Province of Quebec. Then, during the Revolutionary War, United Empire loyalists from the U.S. From the 13 colonies migrated to Quebec and populated various regions. As many loyalists flee to those areas. As a result. Also during this time, issues between the French and British loyalists led to the Constitution Act of 1791, dividing province between the Upper Canada to the west and Lower Canada to the east, which was separated. Sorry. Then, during the war, in 1813, Charles Michel de Salabert became a hero as he led Canadian troops to victory at the Battle of Tatingay during the War of 1812, defeating the Americans there as well. And by that victory, they prevented the United States from conquering Canada from the British. Afterwards, gradually the Legislative Assembly of Lower Canada, which represented the people, came into conflict with the Crown and appointed representatives, and as a result led to many different public meetings and disillusions and rebellions. But eventually, in response, Lord Durham offered reports for a solution, and eventually, the only way to do it was to assimilate the French Canadians, so they passed the Act of Union 1840, which merged the two provinces into a single colony. And it was then completely unstable until 1867, which they did the Legislative Assembly of Canada, and eventually became the Confederation, would have solved their as a result. As well as the British North America Act, as well following the Confederation. Then during this time, when it became a province of Canada, it continued, the Roman Catholic Church became extremely powerful, with the values of traditional society as well. And in fact, the Catholic Church even promoted the national anthem of Canada, "O Canada," as well. Then when the First World War broke out, Canada was involved immediately because, well, it was part of the Russian Empire still, and many English Canadians volunteered. However, because they did not feel the same connection to the British Empire, French Canadians see no reason to fight, though a few did enlist. Then in 1919, there was prohibition as well, but it was quickly abolished in 1921 due to the Alcoholic Beverage Act. Then, in the Second World War, many French Canadians were opposed to conscription, as in the wake of the crisis, Maurice Duplessis of the Union Nationale ascended to power and set his own policy known as the Grande Noirceur. He focused on provincial autonomy, Quebec's Catholic and Francophone heritage, and liberalism instead of the welfare state. However, in 1948, it began to develop new ideologies and desires with respect to the societal changes, and that's reflected in the Quiet Revolution. In 1967, though, French President Charles de Gaulle visited Quebec, the first French head state to do so, to attend the Expo 67, and he said, "Vive le Québec libre," and had an effect on Quebec by boosting the national sovereignty movement in Quebec. That's still going on to the present day. In 1995, Jacques Parizeau called a referendum for its independence, and it was actually a failure, and it was actually a pretty close vote. 50.6% said no, and 49.4% said. So that's still been an issue to the day about Quebec being an independent province. On your right wing, I've got you, Tarnish. I see you on the right. I see you there. I see you there. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of a history lesson about the province. But yeah, this province has a lot of rich history. That's definitely worth checking out and visiting. So, and we got a follow from Zard69. Good to see you, Zard. Welcome on in, my dude. Thanks for the follow, my friend. I hope you're doing well today. We're doing their DC-3 around the world recreation. We're recreating the Breitling DC-3 around the world trip. We're here in New York. We're traveling across the Hudson River. We're flying near the Hudson, and we're going to make our way up to Quebec today. But I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful part of the state. Hey, yeah, I've been there. There's still trains from the 1700s. Yep. Ah, nice. Yeah, Quebec is the #1 place in Canada I really, really want to visit. Quebec. I know they do quite a trips. They got quite a few trips up there I really want to check out in Quebec. Like, Quebec is the city I really want to visit the most in Canada. Because I actually have family descended from there, too. I got family members descended from Quebec. Yeah, next to Hotel Frontenac. Ah, got it. But yeah, Quebec City is the #1 place I really, really want to check out. Quebec City is such a beautiful area. I'm a sucker for history sort of stuff, Zard, so Quebec City would be my #1 place I really want to check out. I know there's quite a few ships that travel to Quebec City. I'm hoping to get to one either I hope to get there in 2025. Hopefully, if we can do it, I would like to do a trip to Quebec on a ship and just sail up to Quebec. So cool. Definitely very, very cool. To get ready for this flight. Let's see if I got any. Let's see who's going along with us. We've got Tarsh Mossman with us to our right. But if you guys would like to join along in my streams, you want to get caught up to my latest streams, content, and stuff, I have my Discord set up for you guys to check out and learn. So here's my Discord if you guys want to check along. I also have a VODs channel set up here for my Twitch VODs here in this YouTube channel. The link will take you to my YouTube channel. This is where I post all my VODs from stream as well. Just some great flying here today. And thank you guys so much for coming along on today's stream. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, to our left is the capital city of New York. That's Albany. To our northwest is Albany. That's the capital city of New York, funnily enough. No, not New York City, but this is actually the true capital. So definitely very, very cool. We're also not far from New Hampshire and Vermont. We're not far from Vermont either. And there's some really cool stuff about Vermont that I think a lot of people don't know about. So Vermont actually has quite a few facts and stuff to learn about Vermont. Vermont's actually the first state after the 13 colonies. It's actually the 14th state. And it's the first state to actually pass laws in 1777. And it was the first colony to abolish slavery in North America. And you can find most of the U.S.'s marble in Vermont as well. And no city has even more than 50,000 residents, so it's the least populated state in the country. It's actually the second smallest state by population. Vermont also has produced, there's over 3,000 syrup producers in Vermont, and they produce 1.5 million gallons of the stuff. Which is actually where most of the U.S. more than half of the U.S.'s maple syrup market comes from is Vermont. And Vermont's also home to the small state capital in Montpelier. It is known as the Green Mountain State because, well, a lot of Vermont is actually quite mountainous. Between the Green Mountains, and all that, it's quite a very scenic place to check out, is Vermont. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff about Vermont. I don't have the Eurofighter or F-15 Tarnish. I don't have any of those 2 points, unfortunately. I don't really buy lots of jets and all that. Like I said, I'm pretty picky about the planes I really want to buy. I'm kind of picky on them because I don't like to purchase money on things I'm not going to spend a lot of time with. So, that's why I've not gotten it. So, yeah, I'm waiting for the next purchase to come out. It may be I still haven't got the Comanche, so I might get the Comanche probably. I still haven't got the PA-24 Comanche. I still don't have it. Probably need to get my hands on it. Yeah, there's Albany. Yeah, very beautiful area coming up. This part of a lot of people think, oh, the eastern United States Viper is kind of like but some of the areas we're going to be flying in is going to be pretty scenic. Yeah, to our right is Green Mountain National Forest, is actually Green Mountain, and you can actually find some local legends within Green Mountain. The Green Mountain Boys is what they call it. Is a militia group that's actually got its name from the mountains here. This is an absolutely beautiful area of the eastern United States. Lots of great mountains. The Green Mountains are actually home to all sorts of animal species, including beavers, moose, coyote, black bear, white-tailed deer, wild turkey, and ruffed grouse. All make their homes here, and it was established in 1932. And it's only one of 2 national forest areas in New England, the other one being the White Mountain National Forest in New Hampshire. It contains 3 national designated trails, including parts of the Appalachian Trail and the Long Trail. And they also feature lots of other stuff too. You can find all sorts of really cool areas in the Green Mountain. Yeah, beautiful scenery here today. And I'm tired of people saying, oh, Viper, the eastern half of the United States is flat. It doesn't have any interesting terrain. Oh, there is interesting terrain in the eastern half of the United States. You just gotta find it. Like of course, there's the Appalachians, in the eastern United States, the different forests and mountains within West Virginia, southeast Ohio, in eastern Kentucky, in Pennsylvania. There's bush, all that up there. There's of course northern New York, northern and southern and southwestern New York, with all sorts of mountains and stuff there too. Along the Hudson, northern New York's got some great areas along the different wildernesses. Green Mountain Forest, White Mountain Forest, including Mount Washington, and a lot of Maine is very scenic too. But yeah, I'm just tired of people saying, "Oh, the Eastern United States people think it's just all cities and all that," but in reality, there's way more to that than meets the eye. So we just reached our ceiling. We're gonna get 7,000 feet here today. Yeah, some people don't look at the train stuff. Absolutely. Exactly. Some people don't think that some people think, oh, the United States is just all that. But in reality, like I said, exactly. Most people don't think, oh, that's just what. No, there is a lot more than that. If you look at terrain map, Google Maps terrain, for example. I mean, look at it. Lots of it are hills. There's some small mountains. All that. But yeah, tons of great flying in this. Yeah, exactly, Typhon. Not many people think they take a look at those areas. But I mean, they could absolutely be stunning. They can make some amazing flying too. See, that's why you don't always judge things because of what you look for. Very, very important. Yeah, there's the Green Mountains to our right. Just absolutely stunning. In fact, if you guys don't mind, I could do this on one of my Friday streams. Let me know, and I could probably do a flight in this area. Yeah, beautiful mountains all across this area. Just absolutely stunning. Yeah, incredibly beautiful. Hey, good to see you. How long do you got? Hey, part of the flight. Good to see you. How long am I to landing? Well, let's see what we have left. Okay, 257. 257 divided by 170. 250. About 1.5. It's about nearly 1.5 hours. So an hour and a half left to go. We have about an hour and a half left towards our landing site in Quebec City. It'd definitely be a good time to prepare for a flight. But yeah, I think maybe Friday's stream would be probably take the Vilga, since I have not taken the Vilga out in a while, and just do some flying around Vermont and New Hampshire. That's what I'm probably going to do. Fly from there, fly up to Vermont, check out the capital of Vermont in Montpelier, check out Burlington, or going around and visit White Mountain. And just check out some of the really great airports, because there's some really neat areas to fly. But yeah, 1.5 hours is left what I have left to go. Hey, we have a fall from Simulate. Good to see you, Simulate. Hope you're doing well. We're flying our way to Quebec from New York today on our DC-3. We're recreating the Breitling DC-3 around the world trip. On Microsoft Flight Sim, we're flying this beautiful Breitling DC-3, and we're going to be flying our way over to beautiful Quebec City. We're still in New York. We're not too far from the border between New York and Vermont. We got the Green National Forest right next to us for some beautiful sightseeing today. So yeah, beautiful sightseeing today. This should be an absolutely fun flight. So let's talk more about Quebec then. So we got quite a bit more to talk about. Let's talk about Quebec's geography. So Quebec's geography is pretty important when you talk about the province. But Quebec is absolutely massive all things considered. It occupies a territory that's 3 times the size of France or Texas. Yeah, Quebec's huge. It's nearly 3 times as big as Texas or France. Absolutely huge. But the most populous areas of the country is actually around the St. Lawrence area, and the Appalachians are the 2 topographical regions in South Quebec. Well, most of central and northern Quebec is by the Canadian Shield. And its total area is around 595,391 square miles, or 1.542 square kilometers. It's the 10th largest country subdivision in the world. And the territory of Quebec is extremely rich in resources in its coniferous forests, lakes, and rivers. Pulp and hydroelectricity are still in some of the most important industries in the province as a result. But yeah, it's being such a massive province, there's all sorts of unique topography and all that sort of stuff, including hills, including its highest point, Mount Alvik, 5,400 feet. It's got tons of landscapes with mountains, hills, peaks, valleys, rivers. And in general, Quebec's climate is cold and humid, with variation depending on latitude, maritime, and elevation influences. And there's 4 main climate zones: Arctic, subarctic, humid continental, and East Maritime. The very northern regions of Quebec are very tundra-based. Then subarctic is through much of the province, and then the southern half is the warm summer humid. And as a result, from south north, they average between 25 and 5 degrees Celsius, and in the winter between 10 to negative 25 degrees Celsius, or 14 and 13 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of central Quebec has a subarctic climate, which ranges from 51 to 58 degrees north, which is subarctic. So the climate in Quebec is very, very varied as well. And speaking of which, good to see a Planet Neutral. Guys, if you want to check out an awesome content creator, check out Planet Neutral. He's an awesome dude. He's doing a lot of his own streams with GA planes. I bet you got a really nice stream as well. You're doing your River Sun series today with the Colitz River. Should be pretty nice in the Pacific Northwest. So that should definitely be a lot of fun up in Washington. Very, very cool. We're flying to Quebec, Planet Neutral, and we're currently right now about to cross the border between New York and Vermont, which is, I think, a very underrated state for natural scenery in the Sim. Great natural beauty. Yeah, we've seen it back in that area a lot. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest is cool. In terms of flora and fauna too, the province itself is home to a wide range of different flora and fauna, and there are large amounts of vegetation. It's home to all sorts of bird species like wild turkey and yellow-billed sapsucker. And the large animals that live here include the white-tailed deer, moose, muskox, caribou, American black bear, and yes, even the largest carnivore on the planet, the polar bear. As well as average land life like cougars, coyote, eastern wolves, bobcat, Arctic fox, and more. While much, and in terms of the marine life, in the Gulf of the St. Lawrence, you can find all sorts of different marine wildlife, like from the biggest animal on planet Earth, the blue whale, to smaller whales like the beluga, harp seal, and even up to the north, you can find the walrus and narwhal, as well as fish species like the largemouth bass, walleye, Atlantic cod, Atlantic salmon, and more. But basically, Quebec's got a wide range of animal species, including the official bird of the province, the snowy owl. And of course, there's also lots of vegetation here too. Lots of different vegetations, including different forests, like mixed forest, deciduous, boreal forests, and more. And they got tons of tree species too, of trees. Yeah, Quebec is a very diverse province. Almost tons of different animals. very, very important area in all of Canada. Pretty cool. Beautiful area here. Pretty cool. So, yeah, we don't have too much far left to go. We're just about 220 nautical miles. We'll also be flying near Burlington, which is the largest city in Vermont, and that's right around Lake Champlain. Yeah, beautiful areas. So, yeah, beautiful day. By the way, guys, on the Discord, we do have our schedule set. I'm going to be setting the stream schedule for the next week or so. I'll be starting to establish our streaming schedule on Monday. So I'll be giving you guys a plan, but I guess for the plans this week, first is we're going to be doing our Wednesday stream. We'll be checking out, we're going to check out the ETR. We're going to fly our way from our hub here in Nagoya. We're going to be checking out some Japanese destinations for Nagoya to Koshi. And then from Koshi, we'll make our way over to another new destination, probably fly our way over to probably to either Osaka or Kobe would be pretty nice. Yeah, I'll let you guys know about that. And then Friday will be a GA stream. I am tempted to do Vermont and Maine. because I really want to check out those areas a bit more. So probably Green Mountain all the way up to the forest there, check out the state capital, Montpelier, and then cross over into New Hampshire with White Mountain National Forest. And head our way down to the city of Concord, where you can find the capital of New Hampshire. Pretty nice. Definitely pretty cool. So that's where I'm planning on it. And then on Sunday will be the next DC-3 stream. We're going to be doing leg 53. Actually, we're going to be doing leg 54 of our trip. We're going to cross over from Quebec City into Newfoundland and Labrador. We're going to be going to Goose Bay and to prepare for the crossing of the North Atlantic. So we'll be preparing for our Atlantic crossing to Greenland, Iceland, and then the UK. So that's what we're going to be planning on doing for next week. What part of the UK landing at? The part of the UK we're going to be landing at for my journey, according to the around the world trip that the pilots officially did, the part of the UK we're going to be landing is actually at Wick. We're going to be landing at Wick. Echo Golf Papa Charlie, which is Wick O'Groats. Which, if you don't know about, if you guys want to know, it's the ending point of the Land's End to John O'Groats route. Which is the signpost, and that's basically the north to south thing of the UK. It's basically the beginning point of the Land's End to John O'Groats route challenge. So that we're basically landing in Wick, and we'll just be going down through the UK coast to. And that one will basically go down from the UK coast. We'll be down there. We'll be making our way down to Duxford before a short flight into Biggin Hill. So it'll just be a pretty short thing. Yeah, we mean Scotland. My mom's family is from Scotland, so that's another place I really want to go visit. It's just, unfortunately, you know how expensive airline flights can get from New York to around Scotland. Yeah, they do not come cheap at all. I mean, one way for 3 people is around $4,000. Because I have to go. That's just one stop. Yeah, they're not cheap. Yeah, but Scotland's very cool, and I did do a flight in Scotland on stream earlier. Definitely a very nice place to fly. But man, the scenery here is just... Oh, the scenery around here is incredible. And the mountains, the forest, it's just... Wow, that's such a pretty area. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm going to do next Friday. Just check around the area a bit more in the Bush Plain. Just fly around the whole place. Get ready to move pretty quickly. Let's go over more of my notes about Quebec. Let's go over those. So in terms of economics, Quebec's economy is... So Quebec's economy, as we know it, has an advanced market-based open economy. In 2009, its gross GDP is $32,480 per capita, a purchasing power parity, which is still lower than the average of the rest of Canada. But despite all that, its economy is the 37th largest economy in the world, which is just less than Greece, and 28th in the world in GDP per capita. And it represents the 20% of GDP per Canada is represented in Quebec. Like most industrialized countries, the economy of Quebec is based on mainly services. But traditionally, the economy has been mainly fueled by abundant natural resource and well-developed infrastructure, but it's went through a lot of change over the past decade. Mainly with the knowledge economy, Quebec has some of the highest GDP growth rates in all of Canada. Mainly with research and development. And some of the most important companies in Quebec include Bombardier, which is a business jet manufacturer, Bombardier. Desjardins, which is financial services. The National Bank of Canada. Quebecor, telecommunications. Hydro-Quebec, Public Utilities, the Bank of Montreal, the Cirque du Soleil Entertainment Company, and more. In terms of primary sector, Quebec produces most of Canada's hydroelectricity, and it's actually, believe it or not, the world is also the second biggest hydroelectricity producer in the world. They produce tons of hydroelectricity, and as a result, it's a potential clean energy superpower. In 2019, its electricity production amounted to 214 terawatt hours, which mainly comes from its hydroelectric power station. Due to its remoteness, it operates the largest electricity transmission network in North America, and it's been very much a renewable energy power. It's also a very business-friendly area for mining, and it produces around 6.3% of Quebec's GDP, and it employs around about 50,000 people in 158 different companies with 30 mines. And they mainly produce gold, iron, copper, and zinc, and others include titanium, asbestos, silver, magnesium, and nickel, as well as it being surprisingly a diamond source too for diamonds. Its secondary sector is mainly produced by the aerospace industry, and its aerospace industry employs about 35,000 people and a total of 15.2 billion Canadian dollars. And the main aerospace companies active there include CMC Electronics, Bombardier, Pratt & Whitney Canada, Perot DevTech, which produces a lot of landing gears and actuation systems, Rolls-Royce, General Electric, Bell Textron, L3 Harris, Safran, Sonatica, CA Incorporated, and Airbus. And Montreal is considered to be one of the great centers of the aerospace industry, which is why I actually wanted to pick Montreal as a hub, the major aircraft thing as well. Also, pulp and paper still also produce quite a bit of GDP, around 3% of it in 2007, but has been slowed down a bit. Also, it has few significant deposits of fossil fuels, so all the major hydrocarbons are imported. And thanks to hydroelectricity, Quebec is also the world's fourth largest aluminum producer and creates 90% of aluminum in Canada. And finally, in terms of the tertiary sector, the finance and insurance sectors employ more than 168,000 people. And the Bank of Montreal was founded in 1817, and it was the first bank in Quebec. Also, another major sector is tourism, and it employs over 400,000 people employed in the tourism sector. And there's a tons of great places to check out in Quebec. You obviously have Montreal, you have Quebec City, including the Chateau Frontenac. It's also a major growing in terms of IT sector in IT, and it's also one of the great scientific research areas. In fact, has produced 10 Nobel laureates in Quebec. So Quebec is a major science area too. In fact, Quebec has had it's also been a leader in space science and has produced many discoveries, as well as many sciences and more. So yeah, Quebec is absolutely a big deal with science and research. So definitely worth learning about for sure. And then, in terms of transportation, Quebec's transportation, most of the development of transportation, land transportation, is based off Transport Quebec's. Other organizations also provide the same for sea and air transportation, being Canadian Coast Guard and Nav Canada for air, sea, and air respectively. In the cargo of the waters of St. Lawrence, there are 8 deep water ports within the St. Lawrence, and they provide nearly 3,886 cargo ships and 9.7 million tons of goods transitioned through the Quebec portion of the Seaway of St. Lawrence. Also, for rail transport, there's over 4,000 miles of railways integrated in the large North American network, and mainly transport for goods through Canadian National and Canadian Pacific. It's also used for intercity passenger. Quebec's air network contains 43 airports, but the largest airport is in Montreal. Pierre Elliott Trudeau is the largest and busiest airport in Quebec. And it's Quebec's busiest airport and Canada's Canada's third busiest airport. And then obviously the second busiest in Quebec is Quebec City, which is where we're going to be in and up for the end of the day. Yeah, I have to go to oh yes, that is. I will definitely have to check that out too. Is Montgomery Falls? Yes, that's also a place to check out. Montmorency Falls. Yeah, that's right in the northeast end of Quebec City. So I guess if you guys don't mind, we could do a quick flyover of Quebec if you guys want to. Could do that if you want. There's definitely lots of ports. Yeah, ETA, we got 1 hour left to go. So to our left here is the city of Quebec. It's actually not city of Quebec. I'm sorry. My apologies. To our left is the city of Burlington Airport in Vermont. It's definitely a very nice little airport there. But Burlington is definitely a very cool little city in Vermont. Definitely very, very cool. Yeah, Montmorency Falls. That's definitely another place I want to check out. But yeah, very, very cool. So, very, very cool. Yeah, we're very, very close to finally crossing the Quebec pretty soon. We got how many more miles? According to my nav map, we're about 30 nautical miles from crossing our way to Quebec. So, let's check our fuel situation. Okay, about 60%. We got enough for the rest of the trip. If you guys don't mind, once we get to Quebec, I was actually thinking about just doing a quick flyover of Quebec City before we land. I really want to go check out Quebec City for a bit. Or actually, we're gonna fly over Quebec City on next Sunday, but I do want to do a quick flyover while we're here in Quebec City, just take a few pictures and then prepare to leave Quebec City for the flight to Goose Bay. So that's what I'm planning on doing. Just do a quick flyover of Quebec. It's not going to hurt. Yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing. So yeah, definitely very, very cool. So this day in aviation, just looked it up. So on September 17th, 1976, the Prote Space Shuttle orbital vehicle was rolled out in Rockwell International Plant in Palmdale. On September 17, 1959, pilot Albert Scott Crossfield made the first power flight of the X-15 hypersonic research plane. On September 17, 1952, Bell Aircraft test pilot Elton John Smith flew a modified B-47D helicopter from Texas to Niagara Falls, New York, setting a new world record for distance without landing, 1,217 nautical miles on a helicopter. And finally, on September 17, 1908, it was Orville Wright brought his Wright Flyer to Fort Myer, Virginia, and Lieutenant Thomas Selfridge from the Signal Corps rode alongside Wright, and he actually, unfortunately for the Wright Flyer, in an accident, and it crashed. It struck the ground, and both men were injured. Selfridge had a fractured skull. And he actually passed away later that day and became the first fatal accident involving an airplane. And Selfridge became the first person to die in an airplane accident. For tragic reasons. Hey, good to see you, Common Crazy. Welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. We're about to make our way pretty much to Quebec. We'll be making there quite shortly. So we're just checking along. We're getting very close to cross the border into oops. Yeah. So we're doing here, we're getting to Quebec pretty shortly. We're about 145 nautical miles out of Quebec. We're just about an hour left to go. But we'll be getting there pretty shortly. So yeah, we're getting pretty close as well. Got quite a bit of flying left to do. So yeah, we're getting pretty much ready to get going towards Quebec. Some more facts about Quebec. I meant not about Quebec, but more facts about Vermont. The official state insect of Vermont is the honeybee that was passed in 1977. Oh, we got a raid from Angry One Horn. Welcome on in, Angry One Horn viewers. Good to see you. This is Viper Strike 95 Flight Simulation, and today we're about to head our way over to Quebec. We're just about to cross the border into Quebec. We started the stream earlier in Bedford, Massachusetts. We made our way first to Big Apple before crossing our way up to Quebec. I hope you're doing well, Angry One Horn and viewers. I hope you're doing well. Great to see you. Let me get a shout out for Angry One Horn. Awesome dude. Making some great flight sim content as well. But yeah, great to have you guys here. We have Larry Goffman. Good to see you. Raleigh Mall's back. Good to see you, Raleigh Mall. And we also have one of my closest friends here too. We got Foxtrot. Amazing dude as well. Check out Flox's stream. Close friend of the community. Angry Warlord, I hope you had a great stream. I hope you guys picked somewhere really fun and awesome to fly around today. So I want to know where you flew around today, Angry Warlord. I didn't know where you flew around today. Great to see you guys. If you guys aren't aware, I'm Viper Strike 95. I've been doing Microsoft Flight Sim streams since 2021. I'd stream 3 days a week. Mondays, Wednesdays, and not Mondays. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Wednesdays is the airline streams with the airliners for the virtual airlines. Fridays would be the general aviation streams, and then on Sundays would be our DC-3 around the world recreation streams. So that is what we're planning on doing today. Why haven't I flew into Teterboro? She was passed out. Oh, no worries, Larry Gopnik. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting story. But yeah, we flew by Teterboro. So we finally crossed over to Quebec. I want to talk more about it then. We're right around the city. Quebec has compared to a lot of Canada, Quebec has an extremely unique and rich culture due to its unique history and roots, resulting from the shared history of the French-speaking North American majority in Quebec. It is extremely unique compared to the rest of Canada, and has been strongly influenced by early modern France due to its association with the French colony of France, but also a number of governmental and non-governmental organizations support the cultural activity in Quebec. There's even an award given by the government for the highest achievement who have exceptional achievements and more. So Ingrid 100 flew from Victoria Falls into Zambia. Oh, Victoria Falls, that's a great one. I wonder if you have Jefferson's scenery, because he made that one even better. Jefferson's makes some amazing scenery, so I think he probably flew by there too. First off is Quebec's unique performing arts institutes. In terms of performing arts, traditional music of Quebec has been mainly by many dances like jig, quadrille, reel, line dancing, with traditional instruments of Quebec music like the fiddle, spoons, jaw harp, and accordion. The First Nation of Inuit also have their own traditional music. Quebec's most popular artists of the last century include singers like Felix Leclerc, Gilles Viginalt, Kate and Anne McGarrigle, and Celine Dion, the queen of the power ballads. Also, there are many different theater troupes as well, including Compagnie di Giuseppe, the Theatre La Rubrique, and Theatre Les Greniers, and several circus troupes have been rare in recent decades, most importantly, Cirque du Soleil. And there's also several circus troupes for the last decade as well. Whoops. I put that one. And finally, comedy is also a very popular area in Quebec and has created several different comedy festivals, including the Just Glass Festival in Montreal. And then in terms of literary and folklore stuff, Quebec's French-speaking populace has the second largest body of folk tales in Canada, behind the native people, obviously. And most of its folklore are old parables and tales, including superstitions, objects, events, and dreams. And there's even an association dedicated to preserving its folklore heritage. When the earliest settlers arrived in the 17th century, they brought popular tales from their homeland and adapted them to rural Quebec life. And spawned many other tales in Quebec, and many of them were passed through generations, referred to as storytellers, or les raconteurs, they call it. Although almost all stories native to Quebec were influenced by Christian dogma and superstitions, and various tales and stories were told through oral traditions, including the legends of the Boogeyman, the Chasse Galataire, and the Corvinal. As a result. So, pretty important stuff for folklore. Yeah, English-speaking people in Montreal, definitely interesting. Yeah, Montreal and the bigger cities still have the French population, though much of the rural area of Quebec is still pretty much speaks French. In terms of art and architecture, as well, Quebec has developed through several characteristics of its landscapes and cultural, historical, societal representations. The development has been masterpieces in painting. Printmaking is marked by a contribution of artists like Louis-P. Philippe Herbert, Honoris Krieghoff, Marc-Aurèle Fontaine, Jean-Paul Lemieux, Clarisse Gagon, and more. Many of the fine arts in Quebec are displayed at the Quebec National Museum of Fine Arts, Montreal Museum of Contemporary Art, and more. But Quebec's architecture is also characterized by its unique style of buildings, the Canadian style of buildings, as well as styles reflective of its history, including classical, neo-Gothic, Neo-Renaissance, Greek Revival, Victorian, and more. And many of the styles and barns were developed by the first settlers, and they're still there today. And several sites reflect the heritage of Quebec, such as the village Quebecois d'Anton, the historical village of Val-Jabert, the Fort Chambly, the home of the Patriots, the Chicoutimi Pulp Mill, or the Paupière de Chicoutimi, the Latching Canal, and the Victoria Bridge. And various museums tell the history of Quebec, including the Museum of Civilization, the Museum of French America, the McCord Museum, and history in Port-au-Calais. which displays the artifacts, paintings, and other remains from Quebec's rich and colorful past. Yeah, they had reprimand. Yes, they did. I did talk about that earlier, Gothnick. Oh, you just landed in Quebec? Hey, no worries there, Tarnish. Great to fly around with you today. So, we're about to make our next turn soon. So yeah, to our left, far enough to the left, we can see one of Canada's largest cities, Montreal. This is Quebec's largest city, so. So let's go ahead. I'm going to change the music. So yeah, we're not too far away from them. The next slide is going to be Quebec's cuisine. Again, the uniqueness of their heritage is reflected in their cuisine. And it descends from the cuisine of the 16th century French cuisine, the fur trade, and history of hunting. Quebec's cuisine has always been influenced by learning from the First Nation people, English cuisine, and even American cuisine. And Quebec's famous for quite a few dishes, but mainly its tourtière, which is French Canadian meat pie with minced pork, veal, beef, and potatoes. Pâté chinois, it's the French Canadian version of shepherd's pie. Obviously, poutine, which grew really in the 1950s, is poutine, very popular dish in Quebec, originally in Quebec. Very popular dish is poutine, mainly made with French fries, cheese curd, and brown gravy. And finally, St. Catherine's Taffy, which is celebrated in the feast day of St. Catherine. Also, during the springtime, La Temps de Sucres is a very popular for many Quebecers going to the sugar shack for a traditional meal, which basically they collect the sap from maple trees into maple syrup and they feed it with ice on it. Quebec is by far the world's biggest maple syrup producer and has been around for hundreds of years and maple syrup and create maple-derived products made from maple. But also other major food products in Quebec include beer, wine, include ice wine, and ice cider and cheese are all very popular. Yeah, maple syrup is very, very popular in Quebec. And then in terms of sports, sports are a big deal in Quebec, but by none, the national sport and the most popular sport in this area is ice hockey. In fact, ice hockey played for the first time in Montreal on March 3rd, 1875, and Montreal has promoted over the years by many achievements. Most notably, the province's most popular sports team, the Montreal Canadiens, who are the most successful ice hockey team in professional ice hockey club in the world. They've won 24 Stanley Cups since their first one back in 1915. And is home to as one of the original 6 franchises of the NHL, and they're still the last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup in 1993. But 24 Stanley Cups, and they've had some of the greatest hockey players of all time, including Bruce Rocket Richard, Guy Lafleur, Patrick Roy, and Henry Richard are some of the most famous hockey players in the world. And they have become a Montreal institution. Outside of that, other sports include Canadian football with the Montreal Alouettes, Club de Foot Montreal for the MLS, and the Canadian Grand Prix with racing drivers like Gilles Villeneuve and Jacques Villeneuve, and formerly with Major League Baseball with the Expos. And Quebec also hosted the 1976 Summer Olympics in Montreal as well. So definitely Montreal played a pretty big role in sports. And finally, in terms of holidays and festivals, one of the biggest holidays is St. John Baptist's Day. And it declared it a national holiday in 1977 to be the national holiday. And it's named after French Canada's patron St. John the Baptist. There's also different ways to celebrate different holidays, including Réveillon, a giant feast, which takes place during Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve and goes on to midnight, and more. There's also different symbols that were adopted into Quebec, including the fleur-de-lis, which is the main flag of Quebec, as well as the floral emblem, the iris versicolor, and the yellow birch being the state tree. So yeah, that is all about Quebec's. That's all about the major history of Quebec. So yeah, guys, that is about Quebec's history. And finally, we have some last fun fact. We got some fun facts about Quebec. Let you all guys know, there are quite a few really fun facts and information about the province. First off, Quebec actually comes from the Algonquin word Quebec, meaning where the river narrows, which is the whole name of the province comes from the St. Lawrence River, and basically that's where the river narrows up is Quebec of the St. Lawrence. So that's where it gets into. The modern flag of Quebec was adopted in 1948 and is known as the fleur-de-lis, aka the lily flowered, and it is basically a blue background with a white cross style between 4 fleur-de-lis. And that's a symbol for many other parts of the former French Canada, particularly New Orleans is a pretty big one in the US. Next is that Quebec has 3 national parks and 27 provincial parks. And the national parks include Fort Lillian National Park, La Mauricie National Park, and Inigan Archipelago are 3 of Quebec's national parks. As a result, Montreal is also home to one of the oldest breweries in all of North America. The malted Canadian beer is produced here in Montreal, and it was founded all the way back in 1786 in Montreal by the Molson family, and they are still producing beer even to this day in Montreal. Funnily enough. And finally, the last city is that Quebec City is the only walled city north of Mexico in North America. North of Mexico, and the city walls extend by 4.6 meters and were primarily built by the French for defensive purposes in the 17th and 18th centuries. So yeah, guys, that is some of the last facts about the province. So yeah, that is about it. We are just around 89 nautical miles. Let's go ahead and get some land predictions in. We're just about 30 minutes, so let's do exclamation point, predict, type in a negative number, and we can get ready for land predictions into Quebec. And we can wrap up the stream from Quebec. So yeah, beautiful area here today. Get ready to do some flying. Yeah, fuel situation is pretty good, 45. Getting some lane predictions. Yeah, we don't really have that much far left to go, guys. So that is the province of Quebec. I hope you guys liked the notes I provided. I worked pretty hard on those. We still only got a handful of slides left to go. We only got 3 more slides left to go of this thing for today. I love the inside provided. Yeah. DC-3 is not bad to fly. If you get the retrofit, it would be... You got the modern autopilot systems and all that in the retrofit. But the issue is that there's no heading mode on the retrofit. So that's why I'm flying with the default. Yeah, I never knew the details without your hard work. I do appreciate it, Phlox. Do appreciate the kind words. So, our next waypoint is going to be up there. We're going to be right beside Trois-Rivières, so, or Three Rivers as they call them in French. It's going to be a beautiful flight today, guys. This has been a lot of fun. Have you been watching Sergeant Staff and now you have been watching Sergeant Staff Ingram and now you? Ah, you're washing the cars this morning. Ah, interesting. Gotta keep them clean. You know, maintenance work does take a while. Yeah, there's Trois-Rivières in front of us. The Sea of Three Rivers is actually in front of us. The Sea of Three Rivers is in front of us. It was founded by French colonists in 1634 as the second permanent settlement in New France after Quebec City, and it's literally named Three Rivers in French. Trois-Rivières. But it was once a hub for New France for fur trade in particular. major fur trade hub. Yep. Yep, we're just about less than 50 nautical miles here. Hey, Sergeant Staff, great to see ya. Welcome on in, Sergeant Staff. I hope you had a great stream today. Check out Sergeant Staff's stream. He streams on Twitch. Mainly Sundays. I catch his streams usually on Sundays. But I definitely enjoy his content. Sergeant Staff's a hardworking guy, so check out his channel. He's such a nice dude. So yeah, we're making our way to Quebec. We're just 50 miles from Quebec City. We're not very far at all. We'll be getting there pretty shortly. It certainly did. It was awesome. Nice. Well, guys, I think it's about time we did the last couple slides for the stream. So let's talk about the historic city of Quebec City. Quebec City is the capital city of Quebec, of the province of Quebec. The city has a population of 549,000 people. It's the 11th largest city and 7th largest metropolitan area in Canada. It's the 2nd largest city in the province after Montreal. It was actually the first settlement in New France when it was founded by Samuel de Champlain in 1608 and adopted the Algonquin name, and it's one of the oldest European settlements in North America. The ramparts surrounding Old Quebec are the only fortified city walls in the Americas north of Mexico that are still remaining. And the entire city was designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1985. But Quebec's history has been very long and interesting. Mainly, it really grew, however, after the 17th century due to the rise of the fur trade, and it became a very fortified city, having to deal with the Persian French. And it was involved in many of the wars, but then after France ceded the city, but the modern history came, it grew after the American Revolution, which many loyalists fled to Quebec City, and it grew even more. There was also the Citadel of Quebec that was built in 1820 after fears of another American attack in Quebec. Until the late 18th century, Quebec was actually the most populous city in present-day Canada, though afterwards Montreal surpassed it and then later Toronto. During World War II, there were two major conferences that were held in the city. The first Quebec Conference in 1943 with FDR, President of the U.S., Prime Minister Winston Churchill, William Lyon Mackenzie King, the Prime Minister of Canada, and TV Song, who was the Foreign Affairs of China. Then the other one was in 1944 that was attended by both Churchill and Roosevelt, and they took place at both the Citadel and the nearby Fairmont-Le-Château Frontenac as a result. But Quebec City is extremely rich. Arts, culture, architecture, parks, and everything. It's such a really unique city. Now, here's some really cool landmarks to visit in Quebec. There's a lot of really great ones. But first is Place Royale, which stands on the site of its actual foundation in 1608. It was named in honor of Louis XIV, whose bust adorns it. And it's the largest surviving symbol of 17th and 18th century buildings in North America. Of course, the Citadel de Quebec that was built in 1832 is star-shaped citadel and was a massive fortress. Been the world's most photographed and pristine hotels, Chateau Frontenac that was built in 1894 is one of the most prominent landmarks and it's the most photographed hotel in the world. And finally, the Basilica of Saint Anne de Dupré. In northeast Quebec, this stunning Catholic basilica is the destination for 500,000 pilgrims a year. Yeah, they make their homes up there too for pilgrimage. Pretty cool stuff. And finally, we have our final stop for today, the Jean Lesage International Airport in Quebec City. Is the 12th busiest airport in Canada in 2022 with 1.17 million passengers. More than 10 airlines offer 360 weekly flights to destinations across Canada, the US, Central America, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Europe. The airport itself was established back in 1939 after the closure of Aerodrome St. Louis, first established as a train facility, but then it had its first flight in 1941. It was renamed Jean Lesage, the former Prime Minister of Quebec, in 1993. The airport has two major runways, 0624 9,000 feet and 1129 at 5,700 feet. It's one of the airports that contain U.S. border pre-clearance facilities for pre-clearance. And the airport has flights to European and international destinations. Domestic destinations include Vancouver, Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, Kuujjuaq, and Halifax, with international destinations too, including international flights and seasonal flights. They include Paris, Charles de Gaulle, Coco, London Gatwick, Orlando, Port of Dominican Republic, Seoul. Yes, Seoul is on, I kid you not, season charter flights to Seoul, and Newark. Just to list the name of a few from this airport. So yeah, Boston Gaming, of course. Great to see you, Bossman. Yeah, good to see you, my dude. We're about to make our way to Quebec. So don't forget, guys, estimation point predict, we're just 35 nautical miles out of Quebec. Let's check our fuel situation. Let's see if our fuel situation's been pretty good. 38, yeah, So here's the plan, guys. Before we land, I'm actually going to fly past the airport a little bit because I want to explore downtown Quebec City, check it out for a bit so I can show you guys, and then we'll land at runway 24 and get some parking. That's what my plan is. I want you guys to see Quebec City for a bit because that is a place I really, really want to check out. So I'm going to go ahead and hitch the autopilot. Yes, Steve also in the DC-3, nice. Let me get a shout for Boston Gaming. He does actually stream on Twitch. So here you go, Bossman. no worries. We're gonna get there pretty shortly. We're gonna check around Quebec City for a bit, and then afterwards, we'll just find somewhere else to raid. So, I'll find someone to raid. But yeah, pretty cool stuff about Quebec. Very, very cool. In terms of other stuff about Quebec, Quebec City itself used to have an NHL team, the Quebec Nordiques, from 1972 to 1999, 1995, until they moved to Denver due to the disastrous exchange rate between the U.S. and Canadian dollar at the time. So far, they're waiting to build a new arena that hosts an NHL team at some point. Maybe at some point, Quebec might actually get a team again, which would be very interesting. But it's an absolutely beautiful place to check out, and there's all sorts of been famous people from Quebec City. And one of those is Patrice Bergeron, who one of the most famous hockey players. But he became an extremely successful NHL player with the Boston Bruins. He's been a captain. But he became an extremely talented hockey player. Oh yeah, one more. So yeah, there are so many famous hockey players from Quebec. It's not even funny. Like, there has been so many top. There have been so many legendary players born in Quebec. I kid you not. So many famous hockey players from Quebec. I mean, there's some of the greatest ice hockey. If you guys never watched ice hockey players, you probably know there's so many amazing, great players from Quebec. Um, I mean, and some of these from the province of Quebec, they have some of the greatest players. You have center Mario Lemieux from Montreal. He played for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Maurice Richard, Luc Robitaille, Guy Lafleur, Mike Bossy, with Ray Baroque and Doug Harvey, Guy Lapointe and Serge Savard, Patrick Roy and Jacques Plante. All of them are some of the greatest hockey players of all time, and they came from Quebec. Yeah, just wanted to let you guys know that Quebec is a city with its. Let's see who's still around us. Let's check see who's still around. If anyone's still flying along with us. I guess no one's flying along. But man, this has been a great day, guys. Thank you guys so much for the raids, the new follows. Guys, a massive thank you for everyone here joining me on this stream. This has been an absolutely amazing time here today. So I hope to see you guys on Wednesday. We'll be in Japan for this one. I don't know if I want to do Japan or I rather do Newfoundland. Maybe I'll just probably let you guys know what I probably want to do Friday. But maybe I'll come up with something. Maybe Friday would be instead checking out Newfoundland. So it's from St. John's, and we just traveled through all of Newfoundland. And just explore the area a bit. That may be something I do, but definitely want to do some flying around Canada or Vermont. So let's go ahead and explore Quebec City for the day, and then we'll just head back to the airport. Because we'll be flying over Quebec City once again for our flight to Newfoundland and Labrador. So we'll be checking out. We'll be flying to Labrador next Sunday. So there is Quebec Lassonde International here in Quebec. Let's go ahead and visit Quebec City. So let's go ahead and power off. Fly our way through Quebec City. Yeah, this has been a great stream, guys. A massive thank you for everyone here. And we'll explore the rest of the city. So some of the landmarks we'll be checking out in Quebec City. We'll probably check out the Citadel and maybe the Chateau Frontière. We'll see if we can find the chateau. Get a great picture. So there's Quebec City. Not all of it's photogrammetry, but the downtown area is. So we'll check that out, and then we'll just circle back. Don't forget to put land predictions, guys. Estimation point predict, type in the negative number. But man, this has been a very fun flight. Very enjoyable. But yeah, and this is the last stream we've been in the continental United States, so now we're back in Canada. But hey, think about this. We're only just, after this, be 1, 2, and then technically, it would just be 1, 2, 3 streams until we get to Europe. It would just be 3 more streams until we get to Europe, which would be, like, we only had 3 streams to Europe, and then we still have to cross the Atlantic again to the UK, get to France, Germany, Austria, Slovenia, Italy, back to France again, then go through Geneva, France to Geneva, and we can wrap up the world tour. Pretty crazy. Can't believe we're going to end up getting through the world tour. So welcome to Quebec City, everyone. Beautiful Quebec City. I mean, absolutely beautiful city. I wish the rest of us got photogrammetry, but, oh well. And there's the chateau right there. Hey, we got a fall from Melvin Leroy. Good to see you, Melvin. Thank you for the follow, my dude. Hey, good to see you, Melvin Leroy. Oh, and speaking of which, Melvin Leroy is also a streamer here on Twitch. Great dude as well. Makes a lot of great flights and content for both MSFS and X-Plane. See you, Melvin. We're flying around Quebec City, beautiful Quebec City, to check it out. We're about to go on our world tour with the DC-3, Melvin. I started this back on December, actually New Year's Day this year, and we are recreating what Breitling did back in 2017, where they flew this particular DC-3 last year, Cleveland, from Geneva around the world. We've already been through Europe, the Middle East, South and Southeast Asia, Japan, and we even crossed through Alaska and all that too. Yeah, Quebec City is fun, and I'm hoping to visit Quebec sometime soon in real life. Yeah, it's a very fun flight plan. We got to visit so many international destinations. It's such a cool. But yeah, we're gonna head back to Quebec Airport, and that's right ahead of us. So we'll just get back to runway 24, and we'll make our way in there, and we can wrap up the stream. But yeah, I mean, we visited a lot of cities on that world tour, Melvin. We got to visit Geneva, Avignon. Basically, the order goes from this. Here's the order of the cities we went to: Geneva, Avignon, Zagreb, Athens, Tel Aviv, Amman, Jordan, Manama, Bahrain, Doha, Qatar, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Karachi, Pakistan, Nagpur, India, Chiang Mai, Thailand, Phuket, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Kota Kinabalu in Malaysia, Laos, Philippines, Macau, Taipei, Kagoshima, then multiple destinations in Japan before having a base in Sendai, Obuhiro, crossed the Pacific all the way to Alaska right at Shimya, then went through the Aleutians to Cold Bay, Anchorage, Juneau, Seattle, Aurora, Oregon, Oakland, California, Los Angeles, Van Nuys, Page Municipal, Scottsdale, San Angelo, Texas, Houston, Texas, Dallas, St. Louis, Missouri, Oshkosh, Chicago, Toronto, Bedford, Boston, New York City, and now we're in Quebec. So, pretty crazy how many places, and we still got more left to go, Melvin. We still got to cross our way to Goose Bay, cross over to Greenland, then Keflavik and Reykjavik in Iceland, then cross over to the UK in Wick, go down the Biggin Hill, and visit the rest. But basically, we have a long flight. Yeah, it is a trip, but this is what they did for 7 months in real life in the DC-3 there, Melvin. I mean, when this thing flew around the world, it was 77 years old when this DC-3 first flew. 77 years old, that DC-3 was. It had a long history with American Airlines, then it was in World War II, then it was transported to several smaller airlines during the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s, was for smaller airlines. Then it became a private owner in the 1990s and 2000s. And currently, this DC-3 can still be found in Turkey. Maybe for the last and final flight of the journey, I may do a long haul one and fly from Seoul into the museum in Turkey, which would be a long haul flight. But but it'll be where this DC-3 will be stored as in a museum. That's what I'll be doing. So that's it, guys. Let me go ahead and turn off the engines, cut off the mixture. And that's it, everyone. Welcome to Quebec City, everyone. What a great journey here today, everyone. Man, this was a bunch of fun. I read a book called Fate Isn't the Hunter. Their point DC-3s are starting to be used as passenger. Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, guys, a massive thank you for everyone here. The new follows, the rates from Two-Tone Murphy and Angry One Horn. Guys, a massive thank you for everyone here. I hope you're all doing well. And speaking of which, we also got a follow from Der Hugo. Good to see you guys. Thank you guys so much. I hope to see you back on Wednesday. We'll be in the DC-3. We'll be back in the airliners. Either I'm going to be doing a flight from Nagoya to Koshi, and then finally to a place in Kyushu. And that will be for Wednesday stream. So see you guys then. We're going to go ahead and set up the raid. I'm thinking about raiding Burstix today. Burstix TV is where we're going to be heading up today. He's going to be doing his Stole competition. If you like bush pilots and all that sort of stuff, check out his channel. So guys, a massive thank you, and we'll be seeing you all on Wednesday. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.